everybody, welcome back to Prescription Bourbon. I'm DMC from Louisville, Kentucky. Today I'm going to be doing a quick hit review of Remus Repeal IX, which was a 2025 release of this series, and this will be a fresh crack. And then I'll be doing a head-to-head comparison of this with another 2025 Remus release, which is our Experimental Series1 release, which was finished in Seguin Moreau barrels. Alright, so this is going to be a fresh crack. Let's see if I can get this open. Sometimes things don't open nearly as easy as you want them to. Alright, got that open. Let's get this popped. Alright, and get it poured. Alright, so I mentioned this was a 2025 release of this series. This is something I look forward to every year. Ross and Squibb now puts these out. Was MGP prior to that. And they put them out usually in October, November, right before Prohibition Day, which is December 5th. And this is an homage to George Remus, King of the Bootleggers, and the Repeal of Prohibition. So this is the 9th release of this. It actually says 2025 medley. So this comes in at 104 proof and has 4 blends in it. Looks like 2 high rye blends, 2 low rye blends. 10-year-old high rye, 23%. 9-year-old high rye, 26%. So 49% of it is high rye. And then 44% 10-year low rye and 7% 19-year low rye. The low rye being 24% rye, and the high rye being 36% rye. So even the low rye is not super low; it's more of a medium rye. So, all right, on the nose on this, all right, that's nice. It's got some oak, has some caramel. So as I said, this is 104 proof, and it's going to be 10-year. Is what it's going to be called because it's that's the youngest stuff in there is 10-year-old. So, all right, quick taste. Cheers. All right, it's a little drying on the palate. That oak presence is definitely, a little tannic, so drying out the palate there, drying out the tongue. The definitely spicy. It's got some good peppery spice on there. Flavor is not as sweet, either caramelly or vanilla or anything like that as I would hope. There definitely is a little sweetness there, but it's more spicy. The spice is on the mid palate and the finish. It's got a medium-low viscosity. It's got a medium-low finish on that too, so medium-short finish on that too. Nothing extraordinary about this. As I mentioned, this is the 9th year they've released this. So I believe I started collecting these with release 4 or 5. So I know I've got 5 or 6 of these. And they're cool Art Deco style bottles, and I really look forward to these every year. So the other bottle I mentioned is this Remus Experimental Series that I mentioned. So this comes from Ross and Squibb also. It says Series 1 of this experimental release, 9 years old, 107 proof, aged in Seguin Moreau barrels. So let me get a pour of this going. So I think this came about probably a little over 9 years ago. There was projected to be a shortage on oak for bourbon barrels, so people were going out and looking for alternatives. And obviously, MGP at the time went and found Seguin Moreau, and they were originally a French cooperage, but they have opened up cooperage in California to supply the wine industry out there. So they obviously got some barrels from them, and 9 years ago, and have aged them, and this is the result of that. So from what I read, these were French oak staves. So the oak was French oak. I believe it was from California, though. That is where it was acquired. The information I found out was that the oak was aged outdoors for 24 months, and it was lightly charred and heavily toasted. And then obviously they aged it for 9 years. Now, one thing that I didn't find was what size these barrels were, but from what little research I did, I believe most of the wine barrels that they do supply are not your normal bourbon barrel size, not the 53-gallon bourbon barrels, but more like they're 60-gallon barrels, or they probably go by liters, so they're bigger, could be as big as hogsheads or things like that. But we're talking about like 250 liter and possibly larger barrels. So interesting stuff. You can see I've had this bottle open for a while, been sipping on it. Color-wise, this is definitely darker than the Remus Repeal. Let me pour a little bit more Remus Repeal here. So yeah, definitely the experimental is darker. See more legs on the glass too. The Remus Repeal definitely seemed a little thinner on the glass. Nose on this is quite nice. So as I mentioned, it's a heavily toasted barrels. Was lightly charred. Yeah, so you definitely get some of the oak on this also, and a light, sweet marshmallow aroma. I mean, as I said, it's heavily toasted. Now, this is not finished. It's just different oak. Nice aroma. Let's give it a taste. All right, it definitely has more depth than the Remus Repeal. This was a great release. This release 1 of this experimental series. It had some sweetness. It had the oak, some spiciness there too. It had a bit of drying on the tongue, not as much as the Remus Repeal had, but spiciness lingers longer. It's definitely got a longer finish, and so it's got more sweetness. It has a good spicy lingering finish. Mouth feels a little thicker there too. So these were released mid 2025. There are probably still some on the shelves in different states, different places, so you can still look for this. It's 107 proof and 9 years old. This is 104 proof and 10 years old, and with a little older in here too. So similar specs. The price on this varies around. I've seen it for as low as $80, but I've also seen it as high as $120. So it was $80 to $120, depending on where you get it, maybe more. This was more like a $70 bottle. So this was, if you could find it, should be cheaper than the Remus Repeal. It's got some of that Art Deco. I think all Remuses do artwork on there. Yeah, and the bottle's kind of ridged there and all that. So it's a cool bottle also. We'll see what they do with this going forward. I do think it's interesting how they plastered Ross and Squibb all over this. Obviously, 9 years ago and 10 plus years ago, when this stuff was distilled, it was definitely MGP who distilled it. They just changed the name to Ross and Squibb a little over 2 years ago. So this does say, bottled by Ross and Squibb. This actually says bottled by Luxco in St. Louis, Missouri, which obviously they bought Luxco, which included Lux Row and all their brands. So, all right, one more quick head-to-head on the experimental. It's nice spice. It's got some flavor going there, borderline on a little chocolatey taste. Yeah, I could call that chocolatey. I don't know if I've gotten that before on this, but like I said, I've been sampling it. Back to the Remus Repeal, which I just cracked. Yeah, maybe this will open up with some air. I've certainly have enjoyed the previous Remuses, batch 5, 6, 7, were delicious. On its own, I would think this would be great, but comparing it with the experimental's beating it. So maybe search this out if you can find it, or look for it and you can find it, pick one up. And this, I'm hoping will get better with some air. So the price did go up a couple years ago, but it seems to have dropped back down. So this was the cheapest one I've gotten in the last 3 years. Was definitely happy with that price came down on that. And I hope Ross and Squibb keeps spitting these out. So I think they're a cool annual release, and I can't wait to see what they do with this experimental series going forward. Appreciate you tuning in. Hit that like button, hit subscribe, leave some comments down below if you've tried this, collect these or not. If you found this, tried this, what you think. Love to have that discussion with you. But in the meantime, remember everybody, all bourbon is whiskey, but all whiskey is not bourbon. The best bourbon comes from Kentucky, but Indiana makes some good stuff. Cheers.
Turkey.